Hello, everyone, and welcome to NJBIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to give everyone a few seconds to migrate in from the waiting room. As you make your way in, please mute yourself and switch your view from gallery to speaker. If you're not sure how to do that, the team will post some directions in the chat. Quick reminder that this program is being recorded and you're all muted for the duration, with the exception of when our speakers want to converse. To kick things off, I'm going to pass this on over to one of our council leaders, the fabulous Jackie Lurea, president of Alexina Consulting.
Good morning, everyone, and hopefully everyone can hear me. It's so great to be here. I just want to say that not only am I honored to be emceeing today's session, but I also want to say that today is a momentous and historical day as we celebrate Kate Conroy and her final session with us today as she moves on to her next chapter. So I'm going off script there, Kate, so I hope you don't mind. So we will miss you, but we're going to revisit this. All right. So 100%. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Jackie Lurea. I'm one of the council leaders here at BIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Councils. And we're so happy that you could make it to this month's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council meeting. And just a quick reminder to anyone who was not able to hear before, this is being recorded and it will be sent to you within the next week. So a big welcome. I see lots of faces that I recognize but I hadn't seen in a little bit. Bien, I would like to introduce some of my co-chairs for 2023, Bien de Guzman, who is the Director of Development at I Learn Schools Incorporated. Jason Holt, who is a member as well, and he is with Chiesa Shahinian and Gian Tomasi. Shai Hopkins, who is the Marketing Director of New Jersey Small Business Development Center. Craig Morton, Assistant VP of Student Affairs at Fairleigh Dickinson University. And Andrea Murphy, last but not least, who is the Director of Environmental Affairs and Sustainability of Panasonic North America. I would also like to thank our sponsors for our session today. And our business roundtable partners are Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey and the New Jersey Consortium of Community Colleges, and our event partners, the Association Member Trust, Capital Health, Chiesa Shahinian and Gian Tomasi. Of course, she made me do that twice. Thank you. Focus New Jersey, Integris, and of course, New Jersey Business Magazine. And so we're going to be incorporating some networking at the end of this session. So save up your questions or throw them in the chat, but let's make sure that we have some great networking at the end of this formal session. And now I would like to give it back to NJBIA.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We at the New Jersey Business and Industry Association are thrilled that this group continues to grow and thrive under the leadership of such amazing people. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the country, representing approximately 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey, which amounts to about 1/4 of New Jersey's workforce, offering customer development, opportunities, visibility, through events, magazine ads, our podcasts, our TV shows, and money-saving discounts on stuff you are probably already paying for, like payroll, healthcare, 401k solutions, and HR support. If you're interested in more, you can check us out online, njbia.org. I am going to pop my information in the chat, and feel free to be in touch anytime. I would love to hear from you. So I'm Casey Skarecki, and that's all for me, and I'm going to toss it back to the fabulous Jackie. Thank you.
Oh, the pressure of it all. Casey, thank you so very much. So I know that we are all online today to hear more about AI and what our unbelievably talented and very knowledgeable speakers have to say today. For one, I hear AI and I break out into hives because it frightens me. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session, both Jim and Kanene will get me to a point where I'm less scared. So just as means of introduction, here's the bio of Jim Barrood. He's the founder and CEO of Innovation Plus and advisor Tech Council Ventures, and Jumpstart Angels. And Jim is a prominent figure in the tri-state region's entrepreneurial innovation and tech ecosystem, with over 25 years of experience in nurturing and supporting startups, growth companies, and higher education institutions. He leads a global community of 10,000 plus entrepreneurs and innovators, unbelievable, and also oversees executive education programs focusing on AI. Jim has held various leadership positions, including 5 years as CEO of the New Jersey Tech Council, or Tech United, one of the largest and most respected membership tech organizations nationwide. He also led FDU's top-ranked entrepreneurship center for over a decade, where he mentored and trained countless entrepreneurs and innovators. Jim serves on several boards, including startups and growth companies, as well as nonprofits, AI for Good Foundation, TechAid, and Future World Alliance. In addition, he is on the board of Princeton's McCarter Theater, where he is on the executive committee and chair of its EDIA committee. So FDU, Craig, how happy are we? FDU is all over this presentation today. So Kanene, I'm so sorry, I mispronounced Kanene Holder, AI Integrations Manager at DEIGPT. Kanene is a well-known AI ethics expert and diversity consultant. As the AI Integrations Manager for DEIGPT, an ethical and inclusive AI model, Kanene empowers individuals and companies to develop effective, responsible AI strategies. With 3 National Endowment for Humanities awards and an extensive background in education and interactive theater, Kanene transforms learning experiences for organizations, schools, and nonprofits. Her work has been awarded with a Colin Powell Fellowship for Policy Study, holy cow, and numerous published contributions and speaking engagements, including at Columbia University and SW on racism and the future of work. You're going to have to tell us what all that acronym is about, Kanene. She is also a certified diversity trainer. Yay for us, for clients including the American Red Cross. Yay for us again. I used to sit on their board, and corporations including Magna Global. She has delivered keynotes at industry-leading events, including Carrot's Innovation Summit, and is set to present on ethical and inclusive AI at Millennium Hilton, New York 1, UN Plaza, for MyPad and Adweek this fall. Kanene is excited to leverage her expertise to bridge the worlds of AI and diversity, shaping the future of both. So are we ready to get started?
Yay,
Yeah.
We sure are. And we're going to try to make this a very interactive session. So there's a lot of questions out there. So we're not going to bore you with a long presentation. We're going to talk pretty informally. And I know Kanene has a short presentation and a demo, which is really super exciting. As Jackie, graciously offered our introductions, too long. But both of us are active in this space. I've been active in tech for a long time, and this is the next big thing, obviously. But there's so many questions, so much potential, so many questions, but also so many risks. And we want to make sure that we highlight all of those and answer all your questions as best we can, because things are changing essentially every day. So no pressure. We can't predict the future, but we can try to get everyone sort of up to speed, at least until today, and get them prepared for the future as best we can. And so I'll hand it over to Kanene to give a few brief remarks, and then maybe talk us through this some of these presentation, and we'll go from there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jim. And thank you so much for the illustrious introduction, for this opportunity today. And thank you all for being aware and awake this early in the morning to talk about 2 of the most terrifying things happening right now, right? Artificial intelligence and diversity, equity, and inclusion. What? Awesome. So really excited to do a deep dive and then rescue you all with solutions. That's the goal. Solutions. Fresh off of Adweek, so I was just there yesterday and the day before, spoke with Amazon, Deloitte, Meta, some of the biggest companies in the world were there, obviously, thinking about leveraging AI, right, to meet all of their marketing needs for their customers, internal facing workplace culture, you name it, they were there. The goal is to get better, right? The goal is your KPIs are up. All those charts are up, including workplace safety and workplace satisfaction. So before I get started, I just want to know, on a scale of 1 to 3, right? How comfortable are you in anything, your personal and professional life, with artificial intelligence? Just put that in the chat right now, please. 1 to 3. 1, terrified. Yo, I don't want to do it. Don't want to touch it. What is this? 2, I've tried it. I survived. I'm marked safe with artificial intelligence. Or 3 is like, I use it every day, all the time. It makes it does recipes for me. It tells me what to wear today. Everything in between. So I'm seeing a lot of 2s and some 1s. I haven't seen any 3s yet, which is fine and it's fair, because honestly, even I'm not at a 3. And I'm in the industry, right? Like, and it's not because I'm scared of it, it's just because I still want to preserve my brain, So it's fair, but I think personally, because it's the wave of the future, and to be honest with you, I've interviewed a lot of artificial intelligence leaders, thought leaders in the space, including those who've testified on Capitol Hill about ethical and inclusive AI and AI safety. One is Hob Libson. So AI is getting stronger and faster, like its capabilities are exponentially expanding every 3 months. So whatever your awareness is of artificial intelligence now is going to be warped and dwarfed by the next iterations of AI in the generative space and in just in all spaces of artificial intelligence. So get in now where it's still pretty simple before it just gets more complicated and more more just like, whoa. And then you're like, you really feel like, you're under it. And then there's these other people that are like, click, 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 click. And then here you are like, what, who, where, right? So like, it's easy. I started in March. That's been my journey. So that's why I have this behind me, right? Why do I have this corny Zoom background? Because it's a metaphor for you to be on a journey from wherever you are to wherever you want to be in the next 6 months regarding AI. Question number 2. Can everybody please put 3 words in the chat right now? Thank you all so much for participating. What words come to mind when you think AI? What words come to mind? Just 3. First 3 words that come, be as honest as possible, because that's how you really feel. What words come to mind when you think AI? And then I might have 1 or 2 volunteers, if possible, to share out loud. Fast. Thank you, Sheila. Exciting, fast, complicated. Plagiarism. There we go. Tell the truth. Fast, shortcut. Oh, okay. That's a lot of judgment there. Love it. Robot, job replacement, fraud. I love this. Convenience, future, smart, help. Yes. Speed, confusing. Idea. Okay. Sheila came back with another word. Thank you. I see it. I see it. Thank you so much for all of that. Does anybody want to get off mute really quickly and explain what their thoughts are on AI? Because I was in the terrified myself. I was team, and the conference is called South by Southwest, Jackie. So, and so South by Southwest started. I was here all the way at this side before South by Southwest. I was like, what is this? I'm an artist, right? I do theater, I write. I was like, what is this? Is this going to take away everything? I'm a teacher. But what is this going to do? People are not going to be able to think. And between March, when I got approached to join the team for DEIGPT, I'm now here. I survived. Look, see?
Yeah. Yes, you did. So what was the one thing, Kanene, that allowed you to get over that fright, or to be more comfortable than you are as you are now?
Well, I think I love this. So it's like a talk show. So I think I use the notion of leaning in, right? So, I work at the fringes of everything that is extremely difficult. Being on stages, right? Whether as a keynote speaker or theater, live, difficult, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, difficult. AI, you know what? Difficult. So it's just like, short hair as a woman, difficult, So I'm always leaning into things to explore not only what it is, but what my relationship to it is and how I can redefine myself, right? And show up as confidently and aware of things that scare a lot of people, so I can be an expert of those things and to bridge that divide to take everybody else on the journey with me. So I'm just like,
So
Kanene,
what?
Mhm.
What you're saying is embrace the fear.
Yes,
Is that what you're
lean
saying?
into the fear.
Yikes.
Except for driving. I know you all are in New Jersey. I don't drive. And that is for your safety. That's the only fear that I'm like, no, I'm going to keep that one. Thanks. But does anybody want to come off mute real quick? And I see Marilyn is off mute. So does anybody want to share really quickly their thoughts on AI? Because it's going to help all of us on our journeys. The more authentic we are in our current reality, the more authentic we will be in embracing the fullness of our lives in the new reality that we want to get to. So who wants to share?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Good morning, thank you. So I'm really fascinated by this topic, especially with the merger of DEI and AI, particularly around like facial recognition and coded bias and the implications with companies like Hilton, who were using sort of facial recognition to judge through application processes, facial expression and identification, through the interviewing process and selection process, and how that data then gets internalized in corporations and used for recruitment and selection, and then sort of the back end processing of that to ensure equity and fairness in the process. So just putting that out there.
Okay, so Scott clearly did his homework. Okay, thank you. I used to be a teacher, so you would get a sticker right there for, completing the assignment. Thank you so much. So yes, her name is Kashmir Hill. She wrote several scathing articles on Clearview AI. Clearview AI is the largest database, and I see you, Marilyn, you'll be up next, is the largest, database of open source, meaning all the photos of us at our nieces and our nephews' birthday parties and graduations, all of our photos of us on vacation and getting married and doing keynote speaking that we upload to the LinkedIns and the Facebooks of the world are in this database that Clearview AI then leverages and sells to law enforcement and other entities as a safeguard to protect all of us, right? And investigate, right? So let's say there's a suspect or something problematic and they need to find this person as soon as possible. There's Clearview AI, literally artificial intelligence that can do instant facial recognition. And so Kashmir Hill, she's a writer for the New York Times. She just came out with a new book about it. And I met her at Floyd Abrams. So Floyd Abrams is the lawyer who is actually representing Clearview AI. He says that it is an extension of freedom of speech. He's also the arbiter of Citizens United, and he also is the founding father of the modern interpretation of the First Amendment. And so he also defended the New York Times with the Pentagon Papers. So a very interesting man. And I actually interviewed him on my podcast called Clocking into the Trends in Artificial Intelligence. So I can share more about that later. But yes, it goes very deep in terms of how are we leveraging artificial intelligence and specifically facial recognition, and how that can help in specific use cases in terms of rapidly finding someone that's doing harm to people, and then can also do harm, right, in terms of being discriminatory or exclusionary in terms of preventing someone access to an opportunity, right? So the dust has not settled on that yet, but it is something to think about and bring up, and I will also address that in terms of what solutions are involved. So thank you so much for that. Clap it up for Scott. Thank you, Scott. Okay, Marilyn, let's go, and then we'll dive back in with Jim about more about tools that we can use. Thank you for your authenticity. I don't think we can hear you. Marilyn, we can't hear you. Oh no. And you were off mute. Danielle, can you hear? Can anybody else hear? Thumbs up? No. Okay.
Marilyn, put in the chat.
Yeah, can you put it in the chat maybe? Marilyn? Because now it says it's muted. So maybe unmute it again. Nope.
And your speaker's out.
Yeah.
Send it in the chat. But while you're doing that, Marilyn, I read something recently to Scott's point about interviewing. So now you can use, some people are using ChatGPT while they're being interviewed virtually to answer the questions that are coming at them. So there's two sides to all of this, right? So people are using it to get by or to respond better. So we have to be aware of that. In addition, I know someone from FDU is on, Craig is, ChatGPT 0, which is used to, all these AI detectors are not good enough. That's the reality. At this point in time, you can't detect it. It's that good. So, on the education sphere, which we don't have to get into right now, but we're going to have to learn how to embrace AI and teach with it, right, going forward. So anyway, I'll stop there. But Marilyn, did you get, she didn't mention there. Any other questions?
What about the lawyer? Oh, let's see here. I think I might know this one. What about the lawyer who produced a brief? Yes, that was inaccurate. Yes. So so yeah, so I'm also looking again at all the other issues that were brought up with 3 words. So yes, there are a lot of issues, right, with AI. So along with AI and diversity, right, complicated even more in terms of what is the future of work, right? What does that look like, right? In the world of AI, where AI can, what I say is AI can out-research you, outwrite you, and outread you, right? Because AI, so what we've been using before was search engines. And AI, specifically like the ChatGPTs and large language models, they are what are called reason engines, because they're able to not only shoot back a very simple answer, question, answer, they're able to reason, they're able to do reading comprehension, they're able to summarize, it is able to make inferences, right, and make suggestions, right? Tell me, I have these ingredients in the fridge, tell me what I should cook for dinner. Google could not do that, but these large language models can. And when they do, it's like in 2 blinks of an eye, right? So in this world that is rapidly increasing in scale in terms of, these large language models that can, again, outwrite you, out-research you, right? And out-reason you, right? So what skills are going to be important when we think about the future of work, right? So soft skills, ironically, are going to be increasingly more important. Your ability to be creative, right? Which doesn't necessarily mean that ChatGPT can give you an answer, but like literally reading the room, emotional intelligence, being able to connect and collaborate with people, being your full authentic self, being urgent in terms of like seeking solutions to a problem, right? In real time, right? Not like behind a screen and then like after a while, like even if you get through the interview process and you get hired, ChatGPT cannot, there's no like sensors in your brain yet. I mean, it's coming, but not yet. So at a certain point, it really is, who are you? Wherever you are on the journey, it's still all about, you see me? It's still all about me. This is a journey in terms of AI, but it's still about who you are, how you show up. And so it's going to force some people to lean into more emotional intelligence. It's going to force some people to think about leadership styles. It's going to force people who may not had to do those things before, more public speaking. There's ways in which the world is going to change because of generative AI. In terms of the lawyer, I mean, yes, they're in every iteration of humanity, there've always been people, right, in history, like, right, who have leaned into a technology, leaned into innovation in a nefarious way. And if you look throughout history, there's always people saying, whoa, who are you? Why are you doing that? From the printing press to, live TV to reality TV, right? There's always been bad actors. And there've always been, especially now with social media, a larger chorus of people with cancel culture, call out culture, and so for the most part, things will still be detected. Yes, it's going to be kind of, I don't want to use war terms to say an arms race, but there is going to be a race between generative AI detection tools and generative AI that's going to be more realistic. right? But again, this is where soft skills come in, media literacy, like being able to just use your senses to say, this is a little bit too perfect, right? Does this make sense? Right? So it really is going to invite people to be more human and more mindful and focused as they navigate the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
let me just add to that. That's perfect, Kanene. But and also people are going to need to be able to use these tools, right? Because I think the phrase has always been said, you won't necessarily lose your job, but if you don't learn how to leverage these tools, you're more likely to be, obsolete or have your job, subsumed by someone else, right? So if you could leverage these tools to make yourself more productive and more effective at work, combined with those soft skills, right, which are so important that separate us from the robots, that combination is really important. So it's never too late to start playing, to get accustomed and familiar with these tools and learn how to leverage them, even though they're getting better every single day. So it's never too late, and start now to at least play with these tools going forward. Remember, it's so easy and it's free and or cheap, right, to use this, and it's really it's just a fantastical time that we need to take advantage of.
And yes, and I thank you so much for that, Jim. And also, in order for us to advocate, which is what I do and also Jim does in terms of like the future of AI being more ethical, more inclusive, more fair, right? Like, in order for us to advocate in the most accurate way, we have to be aware of what it is right now, right? So we can't just say, it's not fair, I don't like it, stop it, and we haven't used it. So it's like, because sometimes people like on 10 with their opinions, but on 0 in terms of ever actually using them. And I'm like, well, that sounds great in theory, but in practice, like if you were literally about to testify to Congress, what are your supporting details for your main idea that stop it? So again, I would just suggest that people, just play around with it, right? It's not life or death, right? Just play around with it. Just say, it can do a lot of different things. You could say, these are the TV shows that I like, create a playlist for me, or tell me some other shows that you recommend. And to be honest with you, and then we'll move on to more specific tools, a lot of AI that we hear in the news, we've already been groomed for it. Like, we're already using AI. It's just that we're passively using AI. And so some of these newer AI models, right, like ChatGPT is more like an opt-in, where you're saying, I am intentionally engaging with AI. But the default for a lot of what we do on a daily basis is AI anyway. You go on Amazon, you go on a lot of these apps to shop, right? You look for one pair of boots for the next 3 weeks. You keep seeing that boot and other boots and taller boots and shorter boots and Italian boots, right? So Instagram just asked me, hey, here's some gifts, here's some emoji, but you can use generative AI to come up with your own gift. I was like, what? Right? So they're also, these companies are starting to embed AI so that it is a seamless experience for people into every aspect of your life, from social media to grocery shopping. A lot of these, some of the new phones are AI enabled. Like, they have specifically, like, the chips are different because, again, it takes up a lot of more data. So some of these phones that are coming out, you'll see in the next few months, either the operating system or the device, the hardware itself, now is AI enabled. Snapchat, who I've spoken to at a previous conference, they are a lot of what we see in social media, Snapchat does first. So the Gen Alphas of the world, they're already, because all the filters in the way that Snapchat works, Snapchat is like the pinnacle of generative AI usage. And so think about people who are at the all the way here, and think about where you are and how you can start to familiarize yourself either on a personal and or professional level.
And we should note that everyone uses Google Maps every day, right? The amount of time saved, by using the AI enhanced Google Maps for directions alone saves this planet $1 trillion a year. So, I mean, there are an autocomplete, of course, when you're writing emails or anything is all AI enhanced. And AI has been here already behind the scenes. Now with this consumer facing ChatGPT, it's obviously, in our face and something we can, again, interact with. But you know what, Kanene, why don't you, I know you have some slides, maybe to show a few of those to, prompt some questions.
Yep. So I'm sharing my screen. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so you're going to see like everything now. Great. So let me just move this here so I can do full screen. Nope, just stop that. So there we go. La la la. So DEIGPT is a tool, right? So again, a lot of you probably have, because I saw a lot of 2s and 1s and 1.5. So a lot of you have probably obviously heard of ChatGPT and you probably use ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is what I would call a generalist. It's pulling from the internet and it's going to give you what the internet gives you, right? In terms of, again, it's reasoning, right? But it's reasoning based on the internet, which can run the gamut from being, sexist to homophobic to racist to, everything in between, right? So you have to use ChatGPT with a little bit of caution, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with ChatGPT and I'm not slandering it. It's just, and they know that as well. Like they put the disclaimer, right? And so DEIGPT has what's called a closed data set. We're not pulling from the internet. We have curated. It's kind of like you're doing a research paper and you're only putting in the best research. So that's what we've done to ensure that our data set won't do what's called a hallucination. It won't do like what happened with the lawyer where it just like made up its own case, right? We do what's called red teaming, which is really a way of ensuring and testing our generative AI model to ensure that it doesn't deviate, that it doesn't cause harm, that it doesn't give answers that derail, your intention, which is to get a solution regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and making sure that AI can be leveraged in a way that is helpful instead of harmful. So just really quickly, so DEIGPT, like I said, it's a revolutionary product, and it uses, like I said, research that is best practices. Research that's been published in books. We collaborate with professors, with universities, and so that's what you're going to get when you interact with our product. You're going to get like high-end, expertise. And again, this is for all indices of diversity, from LGBTQAI+ to ageism, to sexism, to, various abilities, neurodivergent, you name it. And so this just talks a little bit, like I said before, about other AI models that pull from the internet or pull from other places that are not as secure or not as mindful of the data that is baked in. And so sometimes you're going to get data from these models that are not going to be as accurate or legitimate, right? So our goal is to make sure that our data is as accurate as possible to begin with. And we're constantly updating our database when, trends change. So like, let's say the AAPI community wants to add another letter or another nuance in terms of their identity, we'll add that. So we constantly are updating our models, and not all of the other models do necessarily. And so, let's say, for workplace culture, whether you are a diversity, equity, inclusion expert or director, or you're a diversity, equity, inclusion consultant, or you just need some help with diversity, equity, inclusion for whatever reason, and you don't have someone dedicated to that full time, or as a consultant, you can ask DEIGPT a question. It can do everything from create a calendar of events or, holidays to acknowledge. It can generate trainings for you and also figure out, how to do surveys for you, analyze the data from the surveys, and then give you back, a plan for the next 6 months, a year, what have you. It could also be used for marketing. So you want to target specific communities. You also could use it to look at the communication that you're already sending out, whether internally, memos, emails, newsletters or going out externally to clients or customers, you know, you want to make sure that it is as inclusive as possible. Or again, if you want to target a specific population, DEIGPT can help you ensure that your language resonates with that community. So yeah, that's that. And there, like I said before, you know, stay ahead of the conversation and making sure that, again, we don't want to be canceled. We don't want to offend. So what can, you know, how do we do this? Whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the day, I have this burning question. Who can I talk to? Who can I reach out to that'll give me an answer quickly that I can trust because data is secure and best practices? That's what it's used for. And it can de-escalate and utilize more mindful language. Again, data collection and reporting, and all the data is safe and secure, and you can use it on your own company's server. So again, for some of you, and that's another question I'll ask about, when do you think that you would want to use generative AI? The next 6 months, 10 months, 12 months? That's something else that we can talk about to overcome the AI anxiety. So again, it can do inclusive language detection. Hey, might want to shift that, or maybe add this word, take that word out. Employee support, sensitivity training. And again, it can be customized based on your particular company, whether it's healthcare, education, tech, whatever the industry is, or whatever the jargon is, or the most used words or things that are important to you in your company culture. We can put that into the data set as well, so that it feels as authentic to the way that you already work and communicate as possible. Yep. So again, it can do target audiences, you know, audience, budgeting, timelines, KPIs, fun. And we also do AI generated art, right? So our goal is to make AI generated images, which specifically can be used for marketing, for HR purposes, let's say for recruitment, and you're trying to show, you know, the type of candidates that you want to recruit. Our goal is to make AI representation more authentic and accurate to represent all people in terms of their hair texture, their facial features, just making sure that people look like they could and they should look, regardless of who they actually are. It's just all about inclusivity. We make AI, don't be scared. We make digital twins. So I don't know how many of you are interested in cloning yourselves, at least in an AI space, but it's just fun. It's just fun. There's no harm in this. And then we actually have an AI human, which I just showcased a few weeks ago at Silicon Harlem, and she tours the world. She was just in Prague. So she actually talks. She talks specifically about diversity, equity, inclusion, and that AI can look like underrepresented and underserved communities. So she's really fun. She's Afro-Latina. So that's it. So that, and then I think what would be, and this is actually because Race for Profile, this is actually the panel that I was just on yesterday. Haha. DEI, GPT, here we go. Great. So how about I get off for 1 second just to be human again, and then I'll show you all the demo. Stop share. Great. So yes, so it's just gonna, computers, you know, they still say, are you sure? Are you sure you want to stop screen share? Yes. I'm back with you, right? So, you know, and again, that's also a metaphor for, you know, why we create the AI that we create, right? It literally is, are you sure you want to put out that AI model that has biased data? And a lot of companies are like, yes, because it's a race to get the most amount of eyes, the most amount of press. They want to out launch each other, right? And so we want to take our time, right? We're slow cooking. We're slow cooking AI. We want to make sure it is as mindful and as safe and as ethical and as inclusive as possible, and also help companies navigate, well, how do we implement AI in our workplace? So we're in talks with and are advising several household name companies about their AI adoption strategy. Again, from here to here. How do we get here more productive? How do we get here more safety in terms of how workers feel, right? How do we get here, right? You have to think about the entire time being more ethical, being more transparent about what you're doing, why you're doing it, the value add, and taking people along literally on that journey so that they feel safe as they work with AI, right? To increase not only their personal productivity, right, but also the productivity of your companies. So does anybody have any questions before I go into the demo? Or does Jim, do you want to share something?
Yeah, no, I think that was awesome. A lot of these companies aren't huge companies, but yet they still have to worry about this, right? Because there are risks involved with the implementation of AI across the enterprise, however big it is, right? It could be 5 people, it could be 10 people. So what are some of the things that, maybe they, if they can't hire you to help them, what are some of the things, precautions, simple things that they can do to sort of take things a little slower, be careful, for the benefit of their organization and their team?
I'm just putting that in the chat as well, at your companies. Yeah, so I would say before any company starts to implement AI, right, they need to form a team, right? And the more that the team is inclusive in a top-down way, right? Like I think about ethical inclusive AI like the UN, right? Multiple people, multiple stakeholders have to have a seat at a table so that the decisions are informed in a way that is mindful of how it would impact all the other people in terms of like being like representative, right? So if I was going to, think about a think tank, right? Like within your job, right? Or a working group, right? Like, in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to start to use AI, right? What should that look like? I would make sure that I include at least 1 or 2 people that are, whatever term you want to use, lower ranking, right? It should not just be C-suite or, executives alone, because again, depending on the person, depending on the position, AI might feel and be totally different from their experience based on their job position. And then also for advancement, right? Let's say this person utilizes AI more and better than someone who's middle management, right? So what is the upward mobility for people who are lower ranking at your companies to ensure that they also too are not only included in the conversation, but aware of the opportunities as they continue to, up their KPIs, up their productivity and their usage of AI. One thing I will share also is the term, and Jim talked about this before, prompt engineering, which sounds extremely complicated, right? If you have heard of prompt engineering, please just put 1 in the chat so I can just see how many people are, how much jargon I can share about that really quickly. Has anybody heard of prompt engineering before? Or if you have, just thumbs up. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of negatives. Great, perfect. I see 1, literally, great. Thumbs down, thank you. Yes, be real. So you're looking at a woman who, again, has spent her life as an educator and on stages to do theater, right? So how am I able to lean into this level of jargon, right? And terrifying so easily? Because AI is unlike other tech. The barrier of entry is so low, it looks like you and me. So prompt engineering is just a really, really complicated, terrifying way of saying, how do you ask a question that is so specific that the answer makes you a better fill in the blank, better cook, better manager, better writer, better whatever it is? Because that's literally what generative AI can do. It can literally give you what you want. The only issue is, do you know what you want? Right? So the more specific you are in asking a question. So let's say, you want to do a brief, right? You want to do a mid-year evaluation, right, of your workers, right? what questions would you put into the survey, which you can do in SurveyMonkey. You can do that in other websites or what have you, right? But let's say you really want to know specifically what the OMG can now tell me what to make for dinner. Yes, it can do that, right? But let's say you want to create a survey, but you really want to specifically create a survey about people's comfortability with AI in the next 6 months, right? Wink, wink, right? Because that would also be a part of your strategy. You need to know how many of your workers are feeling it or not, right? Or not, right? So you can literally ask DEIGPT or ChatGPT, hey, I have a workforce of 50 people, right? Please create a targeted survey for me to get answers on how they feel about AI personally, how they feel about AI professionally, and what their comfortability is with using AI, just based on, who they are right now in terms of their job description. And you can literally put in all their job descriptions. You can put in all their LinkedIn profiles, and it will create a survey targeted to each person versus SurveyMonkey, which would just be click, 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 enter, enter, right? So again, the more specific you are, the more specific it will be. And leveraging data is the new gold rush of the 21st century, right? The more focused you are, the more your results will exponentially rise, right? And so that's the difference between using Google to simply ask a question, what is the best website to create a survey, or what are the top questions for creating a mid-year evaluation? Google can give you that, sure, right? But when you're doing prompt engineering, you would literally ask it a very specific question. Does that make sense? So instead, like Google, you could say, what recipe can I cook for salmon? Prompt engineering would be, I have salmon, leeks, some balsamic vinaigrette, and some canola oil. What should I do for dinner? So the more specific you are in terms of your question, in terms of engaging AI, the better your result will be. And so that's all that word prompt engineering is. It's just a very sophisticated and terrifying way of saying, ask a better question, because this tool, again, can out what? I don't know, do we remember? Out reason you, out research you, and out read you, right? It can do all of that. So trust that and lean into it more and into your brain a little less. Right?
Yeah, let me just add there that you're so right, and it's getting better all the time. So soon we'll be able to not just type it in; it'll be multimodal, where we can speak to it and it will ask back, and then imagery and all that stuff. But I wanted to Kanene mention about including everyone in these working groups. That's really important, right? And some of the research has shown that some of those lower level folks who are, underperforming, they benefit the most from AI and ChatGPT. So they will come up even faster and farther than the higher performers. So the benefits are extraordinary.
Yeah.
You can get it, engaged throughout the enterprise in a thoughtful way, right? So that's really important. And then the other thing, about including everyone in this working group and being thoughtful about what questions are being asked, because if you ask it all into ChatGPT, private or confidential information, now that's open to the universe. So that's another thing you need to think about. Now, again, if you can just train the this technology on your data and make a private sort of ChatGPT for your organization, that's not cheap. But it's something that large organizations are doing to protect all their confidential data, which is super valuable. So that's something else. Most of the businesses on this call are smaller. Don't have to worry about that so much, but it's something your employees need to worry about. You don't want to put confidential information, personal or about the business, into the system, because that will be free for the world to see and may be negatively affecting the business and could lead to other ramifications. So I just want to make sure we talk about that. you can comment on that as well, Kanene. If there's any questions around that, feel free to submit them in the chat.
If I could, because
Yeah.
it is now 10:20 and holy cow, we're running out of time. And I just want to make sure that we continue this, because regardless of who is on the line, I think to elaborate a little bit more, Kanene and Jim, on who's sitting at the table. So we talked about the lower performing, and we talked about the newer people. But what are the other skill sets one should think about if they're putting together this work group for AI to really leverage as much as we can with this work group? And then I definitely want to leave time for the demo, Kanene, that you're mentioning. So I don't know how long that is, but we're at 10:21 now. So if you could answer that first part for everyone's information here, if they want to build on capacity.
Yep. I'll be quick. So in terms of prompt engineering, last thing I will share is the thinking. Leveraging AI is different in terms of what it requires of your brain. It requires your brain to get very succinct, very specific on your question, because your question is really not a question, it's a goal that you want to get to. And so if you think more creatively about your question, leverage AI's data to give you the answer, versus the other way, which is, I don't know really what I want, or I'm kind of sure, and you just give a question. It can so vastly answer the question in ways that you could not imagine. So the brain, it's really on the question. And that's why they call it prompt engineering, but that's just really what it is. So that was one thing I want to leave with you all. It's really about being very specific about what you want and let it do it, right? In terms of letting it do it, and you're being very specific, that could mean that you're sharing proprietary, right? Business information. It could be budgets. It could be a lot of things that you don't want to have public. So you really need to be looking at the terms of use, including Zoom, right? In terms of, are you opting in or opting out of them utilizing your data to improve their large language models and their machine learning on the backs of you using this product, right? So a lot of them too. So you need to be looking at what the terms of use are. And in terms of our tool, I will share that with you all now. We don't do any of those things because we are being ethical and inclusive. And so it is closed. You put it on your own server. It's your data. We don't touch it. We are just providing the reason engine to provide the best and most accurate information for you to be able to connect to your customers, and also to connect internally in terms of your workplace culture. I think there was one more question in terms of how do you do the AI strategy, right? So I would say that again, have people that are upper ranking and lower ranking, right? As much as have a balance of that, right? Also be mindful of the genders that you include, be mindful of the ages that you include, be mindful of also the religions. Like if you can have as diverse of a group of people, right, to be in on this think tank or whatever you want to call it, strategy, mind trust for AI, the better it will be for the future of your company. Because your company can, believe it or not, drastically change in the next 6 to 12 months because of the disruption called AI, right? So like Jim said, it could be, someone you thought, oh my goodness, they barely clock in on time. They're clocking, they're like your MVP now, because AI has allowed them to rapidly, exponentially expand their productivity and their impact. So be very mindful of who you curate intentionally to be on that conversation, because AI can, to some degree, totally change your workflow, right? And also your culture. So with that, if there's anything in the chat, but I will share really quickly the demo.
Yeah, Kanene, while you're queuing up your demo, what I'd like to ask everyone to do is if you could put your contact information in the chat,
Yes.
because we do have several questions and I'm going to ask our speakers if you could please contact those individuals and with answers and responses to their very, very compelling questions, because we are running short on time. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that everyone is acknowledged and responded to, but I want to see this demo. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is the exciting part. It's just like, you know, I'm not talking to
We didn't
or
reach
at
the
you all.
exciting part yet. This
I
all
mean,
has been
well,
exciting.
who knew that the tech would be the most exciting and not us, Jim? Shameful.
Exactly.
See, so it's going to start, right? So let's say really quickly, what is the best way to address diversity in the workplace, right? Boom. And it's going to go. So again, ChatGPT, I'm sure you've used, and we could even do a compare and contrast to see how much more specific and detailed and the way in which you could actually implement this information would be more useful to you than, you know, a ChatGPT or a Bard would. But yes, so that's it. Blink your eyes twice. Oh my goodness, it has given you, you know, gold. Addressing diversity in the workplace requires strategic planning and conscious effort. Here are steps organizations can follow, right? And so some of this for diversity can also clearly also be pivoting towards, you know, implementing, you know, AI in the next 6 months as well. And I can ask that question as well. So leadership commitment begins at the top. Leaders must commit to the values of diversity, right? So yes, I would say that you would send out communication, you know, from the top down, right? And say, hi, you know, as you know, you know, the world is rapidly changing. Our company has served X amount of people for X amount of years. However, in the new rapidly changing world of AI, you know, we are excited to announce that over the next 6 to 12 months, we too are going to be utilizing AI. You know, I understand that there's some risks involved and some fears involved, and I'm open to having these conversations individually. But I also want to know who wants to volunteer to be a part of this committee, right? Like that's something that, you know, you would start to. That's a way that you can roll it out. And again, if you have more questions, I myself and Jim would be excited to share, you know, best practices or come on board and do even more. Adopt a broad diversity and inclusion strategy, outlining goals, priorities, and objectives, addressing all aspects of diversity, race, gender, ethnicity, religion. So again, same thing, right, that I said, right, is if you're going to have like a think tank or a group of people that can advise, you know, where you want to go with the implementation of AI, same thing that it says here for the strategy for diversity is the same thing that I would advise for AI. Employee involvement, participation is key. Establishment, yep, same thing. If your task force or committee is representative of the workplace, yep, same thing. Recruitment and hiring, right? Develop diverse talent acquisition. So yeah.
You know what? Maybe Kanene, we could ask anyone to submit a question in the chat to put into the DEI and see what it comes up with.
So I guess maybe just for the sake of time, if you read it out to me and then I can type it so that I don't have to stop share screen and share screen again.
Okay, let's see. Nothing yet.
Ding, ding, ding. Or if someone can unmute, they can unmute themselves and just say it out loud. Either way.
Can you prompt it to ask in the midst of global crisis that is happening, how can we create an inclusive environment or workplace? Something to that effect. Like what kind of statement can we put out there?
There we go. There you go. Yeah. It's very humbling. AI is very humbling because you think you're smart. You went to college. You did all these things. Your teachers tortured you with red lines in every other sentence because the subject verb agreement or something. And then here comes this thing called AI. It's just like click, done.
Isn't it amazing?
And again, this is just a template, right? So you could use this to inspire what you're going to do. You can change it and make it even more specific. But yes, it can click, 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 click. It's done. In the light of the current global crisis, we want to be clear in expressing our unwavering commitments to the values that shape us as a company. Diversity, equity, inclusion. These values are fundamental to our mission, guiding our actions. Like it's like, whoa, you know, and I'm a really good writer, and it's just so humbling.
Amazing.
But
Kanene, Marilyn has a question.
sure.
It's just moving on. I just want to make sure because we're running out of time. What
Yep.
are Black History Month programming ideas?
Mm-hmm. Or how to celebrate Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. That's always a good one. Yes. Or Hispanic Heritage Month. Yes, it can do all of that. Yeah, yep. There you go.
And you know, some of the, just so an exercise here, Kanene,
Mhm.
you know, as you and I know, and a lot of folks who play with it, yeah, you can keep refining the question. So
Mhm.
let's just say, can you say, what are the top 3?
You wanted me to keep it with Black History Month or just change
Yeah,
it to?
that's fine. Let's see what it comes up with. It should just take the top.
Mhm.
Let's see what it comes from the regeneration, right? From the
Mhm. I noticed it didn't just cut and paste the top 3, like duh. You know, it's like,
That's
no,
right.
you really want to know
That's right.
what's
It's so
most
smart.
important. And it'll say why. Remember, it's important because if this is a reason engine, right? So it's not just going to give you an answer, but it's going to explain to you why to do it in a specific way. Yeah, it's just fun. and
So there is a continuum. You
Yes,
can
there
keep
is.
asking and it attaches to the prior question or
Mhm.
questions. Okay,
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah. It actually did even more. It's like, all right, you want that? But you know what? On second thought, I'm going to give you this too. Wow.
Huh.
Mhm. And again, you know, so our data, right? So the data that we're using, that we're pulling from, is best practices. It's, you know, published authors. We've partnered with universities. And so, you know, the information that you're going to get is going to be very specific and very much so the new word, I guess I will just say, implementable. Haha. Right? Like you're not going to sit there and like scratch your eyes out like, okay, but what does this mean for me? Like it'll sit there and tell you why to do it, how to do it, and in a way that like you feel set up for success versus, and you can trust it, versus some other, you know, AI tools that you're like, oh God, it only did half the work, or I still have to do all these things, or I'm more confused than I was before I asked the question. And so that's the goal. The goal is to set people up for success. Yep. So it's very specific. Foster open conversations, facilitate open dialogue about racial equity and inclusion. Remember, the goal is not to only commemorate, but also to continue these efforts throughout the year. Yeah, it's very like clear. And see, the answer for this one is different to this last one. Remember, while Black History Month provides a dedicated time to pay special attention, it's important to maintain these practices. Yep, incorporating diverse narratives, different than here, right? So again, it's going to continue to give you more nuanced answers based again on your question or your prompts.
Just
So
amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting. So
absolutely amazing. And so we are at 10:34. Kanene and Jim, what an amazing, amazing presentation. I am a little less scared now, thanks to you both, and thanks to this really incredible and a little bit frightening still what this program can do. So thank you so much. Before I move on, are there any final truly quick words that you want to share with the audience before we go into the networking?
I would say don't be scared as we approach Halloween, and engage and play with it. You need to start, you play with it, listen to YouTube videos or podcasts, just sort of again, everything is changing super fast. So, you have to keep up with it. And this is really the definition of lifelong learning now, right? Now it's active learning, and more important than ever before is to keep up with this stuff. That would be my sort of ending thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and thank you, Jim, for your transparency around that. And on my screen, it shows that I'm frozen, but maybe not. So great. Yeah, so thank you all so much for engaging in the demo. I thought that, the demo is really it, like, okay, talk, but all right, let's see it in action, right? And so lean in, right? I saw some of the comments like, I've never felt so dumb, or this is so humbling. Yeah, so it's exactly what I said, which is not to feel dumb, but to feel like if you ask the right question, let it do what it does and trust it, right? Because there's something else that you can do that is very human, that is very original and authentic to you, that you will now have time freed up for, and let the AI do what it does. And yes, it's humbling, because yes, I saw the answer, which is like, it would take me all day to do that, or it would take me half a day. Yes, I write grant proposals. Trust me, there are people writing grant proposals in like 20 minutes on ChatGPT and other software. So again, in this new world of competition, right, in social Darwinism, right, like, well, what are you going to do? Like, master the tools, master these AI tools, and also master prompt engineering, which is just a bit basic, simple way of saying, how well can you ask a question, which is going to help you in your personal interactions as a human in real life, and definitely will help you in the world of artificial intelligence. You got this. The journey starts and ends with you and us, if you need more strategic advisement or tools.
Wonderful.
Less biased.
All right, Kanene, Jim, thank you both so much on behalf of everyone here, on behalf of BIA, absolutely on behalf of the DEI Council. We want to thank you for this intense presentation, but very, very exciting. So right now, and again, I'm going to remind everyone, please put your contact information in the chat. You will get a recording of this because it was a lot. So I'm looking forward to watching it again. But right now, what I'm going to ask Danielle to do is she's going to put us into breakouts. You're going to see a prompt come onto your screen, as I know we all are familiar with, to put us into some breakouts, because that is one of the most, I'm going to call that old school networking.